Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Esselatu vesselamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala cemil enbiya ve murselin. Fifth remark. Man has been sent to this world as an official and guest and has been given abilities of great significance. And he has been entrusted with important duties in accordance with those abilities. In order to employ man in fulfilling those aims and duties, powerful encouragement and severe threats have been made. We shall here summarize the fundamentals of worship and of man's duties, which we have explained at length elsewhere, so that the mystery of the most excellent of patterns, ahsen takvim, may be understood. On coming into the universe, man has two aspects of worship, and being a slave of Allah's. One is worship and contemplation in the absence of the object of worship. Is that a good translation? Absence of an object of worship? It is not absence, but it is not. It is opposite of presence.
Geyve.
But you can't say absence. Absence implies non-existence.
Unseen.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a whole book, so you have to read every, there's a general rule. When you read a book, you try to, first of all, understand the author in his best possible light. I think that's a good rule.
Yeah.
Second, you should always, if you don't understand something in any book, you continue a little bit, probably it'll be explained later. Or even you can reference other parts of the book, right? So today it's just so afraid, I think Kolnavi was mentioning like yesterday, people are just like manifestation, like shirky type of meaning there, man. We have to be careful. And so it's a sickness, it can become a type of sickness. So just, husnul dhan. I think the principle here is to have husnul dhan of the other person, and then, you continue the translation, etc., etc. Right?
Yeah. It is not.
Sorry, were you questioning the translation or questioning the meaning?
No, translation.
No, translation. Like it is not. It is not actually opposite of presence. I think because Allah is present everywhere. But it is lack of sense of presence. I think.
But I see what you mean with.
Absence, right? Yeah, it's problematic. I mean, you can understand it to be very problematic, but is it really? I mean, try if you understand. What I'm trying to say is, if we give it a good interpretation, right?
Yeah.
You say, well, it means, of course, metaphorically, Allah Ta'ala cannot be absent, but it's like if He were in some measure absent because you can't.
And you don't feel the presence.
Like the hadith that says, you cannot see Him, but He sees you.
Yes.
It's like you worship Him in as if you see Him, but He even though you can't see Him, but He sees you.
In our perception.
I don't think he's saying this though. I think he's saying that our ubudiyat is gaiban.
Yes, gaiban, but how can we translate gaiban better?
That we worship him, even though to us he is absent.
Yeah.
He appears absent.
He might
Because
appear.
here, in the absence of the object of worship, he's not absent.
No.
He is completely present. But for us, we worship without seeing him.
I mean, like, if someone says in absence of the object of worship, out of context, I understand Allah is not here. I think it doesn't make sense. Anyway, the other is worship and supplication in His presence and addressing Him directly.
And the object also, I think, seems problematic, but in the second thought, it's not problematic. Object of worship. It's like you're materializing, but it's not the object in the sense that it's something material, but it is your target.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
in grammar, the object.
Yeah, the objective.
Yeah, the address.
Yeah.
Addressee.
But the people may think that this is so, like if they don't know,
Yes.
they may think that you are making it like an idol, object of worship.
Please can you misal verirsin?
Yes.
So I
Or
am
maybe target of worship, or maybe more.
starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
Man has been sent to this world as an official and guest, and has been given abilities of great significance, and he has been entrusted with important duties in accordance with those abilities. In order to employ man in fulfilling those aims and duties, powerful encouragement and several threats have been made. We shall here summarize the fundamentals of worship and of man's duties, which we have explained at length as well, so that the mystery of the most excellent of patterns may be understood. Like, this is a very fundamental question, I think, because like people, like, we are from the childhood, even if we're raised in an Islamic environment, we are taught that Allah created man, very important creature, human, very important duty. But what is it? To worship, like making these actions, that's it? What does it mean? So like, through the Quran, like great emphasis on these duties, and we are not taught enough on like why this is important, what does it mean, what makes us most excellent of patterns in this context, Asyan Takvim. Is there anyone wants to comment on this introduction?
I think it's amazing and beautiful that it says one is worship and contemplation.
Yeah.
You know, worship and contemplation. Because most of us today think, you can say that, the contemplation aspect is just all the opposite.
Yeah. I want to look at its Turkish sometimes.
Now in here, Gaibane and Hazrane, referring to both, in both cases, referring to Ubudiyya. But only distinction is that Gaibane is referring to tafakkur, and Hazrane referring to supplication. So maybe the question is like, what is the distinction? Why in the absence, or it is tafakkur or contemplation, in the presence it is munajat?
Because like by definition, supplication is in presence. If you are addressing, like, but contemplation is like, it implies gaiva. You are just thinking about it. You are not observing it.
Still, we cannot observe. Hazran doesn't mean we are observing.
But you are feeling like
Ibadah, same thing.
Is the question clear?
What's the question? Sorry.
What is the distinction between, in the absence of the object of worship, we are contemplating and doing worship. In His presence, we are doing supplication and worshipping. So only difference between these two, in the presence and in the absence, is that one is specific to tafakkur, contemplation, another is referring to supplication. What is the distinction that makes this one tafakkur and the other munajat?
Why contemplation is only gaibane? Why supplication is only azra?
Is it only? Maybe I'm just misleading.
Yeah, in somewhere in Mr. Ayursa says the purpose of the man descending this world is to know its creator.
Yeah. To know about him.
Yeah, to know about him, to believe in him,
Yes.
and to worship him.
Yeah.
So I think the first two, even though they are kind of interconnected, and is related with the Geyve, like to getting in mind of him by like to get like what we are doing during the program. Like we are trying to read and understand his names, read from the universe. So, but the other one, which is the other worship, which is like praying 5 times a day or fasting, or when we do public supplications, is more hazirana. Like we are consciously, like how can I say it? Like we are communicating with him, and we
Directly without listening.
yeah.
Rasulullah says about supplication, someone who prays knows that there is someone who he knows him. He hears his voice and answers to his needs.
Yeah, the one who offers the supplications knows that there is someone who hears the wishes of his heart, whose hand can reach all things, who can bring about each of his desires, who takes pity on his impotence and answers his poverty.
So I think the question is answered, right?
Yeah, partially, I think it sounds good. What I was thinking is that in the Gaibana, it's one way. Like you don't see, but he sees you. So in the Hazrana, it's like you do zikr, your supplication, with it's like two-way. Like there's an interaction. Like if it's tafakkur, there is no interaction. It's like one way. You just think of someone, one way. But in Munajat, it is two-way. Like you feel that he's hearing you, he's knowing you, he's seeing you, he's aware of your needs. It's like more intimate. That's why it is Munajat is in the Hadrana and the other one is in Gaibana. The first one is more theoretical and kind of one way, less intimate, and the second one is more intimate and two-way.
Yes.
I think Colin John was saying something.
No, I was just going to say in Fatiha we use the Ga'ibana in the first few verses, and then the Irtifat happens and it then becomes Hazirana. But I think the goal is for it all to be Hazirana actually.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
So,
You don't know the new rules, you haven't laid out the new rules.
I was thinking when I'm listening to the way you pose the question, if every one of us has to do both of these, right? To find that distinction that you're asking about, I think is extremely subtle and it's very, very difficult, right? But then suddenly you start thinking maybe like Konar just did, like, what if it's a succession? One begins and then you turn to the other, right? Because he begins by saying man is sent to the world and he's got these duties, right? And he needs to be threatened and etc. in order to fulfill or be enticed sort of to fulfill them, right? So people come to the world and the ulama actually they say what's the first duty that people have? The first duty is thinking. Why am I here? Where do things come from? So the people who refuse that duty and they pay a price, in this world and the next, right? But then other people start doing this duty, and then so it's a ghaibani because you don't know. You start thinking, where, how come, and then once you discover the existence of Allah Ta'ala guides you to discovery. So then it becomes hazirani, like Konar said, all the time. So I think maybe that's a good interpretation. But even though thinking about both at the same time might be also a good basis to do.
If we continue, Mustafa already talks about that as well.
Yeah. In the previous discussion, we talked about muhakeme hissi. So I think this is an example of it. You can't reason about state of presence. You have to feel it. It's a state in the heart. As Brother Abdullah said, it's very subtle. But I think there is it is a gradual path to reach that state. So it reminds me of a passage from 8th word. The man in the well, experiences this enlightenment and
Yeah.
starts to supplicate, like, and Ustad precisely mentions all the steps he take in, like, in his heart. He says like there is a desire appeared in his heart, like to know about the ruler, and like that there are many steps like that, and it's very articulate, very precise. I like that very much. Can I share it? Eighth word.
While we are opening it tonight, that's something.
So it starts like that. Huh. Okay.
No, if you open
Yeah.
it.
This desert has a ruler, and it's possible that this lion is a servant under the ruler's command, and found consolation. Like these, we sometimes like think we shouldn't feel anything, like we shouldn't fear anything. Like Ustad says, he feared, but he didn't fear. Like he feared at 1,000 times less than the other guy. So like he feared, but he felt that like there should be an order here. So he at the very beginning he has good thoughts, and he starts says because of his good thoughts and positive attitude, he thought to himself, this desert has a ruler. Then he feared. Doesn't start like he was terrified like him, but his terror was 1,000 times less than his brother's. Then says these strange happenings are connected to someone. Also, it seems that they are acting in accordance with a command, in which case these matters contain a talisman. Yes, every Colin Hocam once said it is not talisman, it is puzzle, yeah. Yeah, a riddle. Yes, everything is happening at the command of a hidden ruler. Therefore, I am not alone. The hidden ruler is this is the contemplation. This is Geyve. This is the contemplation. Therefore, I am not alone. The hidden ruler is watching me. Like there is a reasoning here, and it is Geyve. Hidden ruler is watching me. He is testing me. He is impelling me somewhere for some purpose, and inviting me there. Like a curiosity. Like this is the first feeling. A curiosity arising from his pleasant fear, and this, like the first one was fear, then curiosity, and these agreeable thoughts prompt me to say, I wonder who is that is testing me, wants to make himself known, and is impelling me for some purpose on this strange road. Then love for the owner of the talisman arose out of the desire to know him. From the desire to know him, the third step, then the fourth step comes, the love of the owner. From that love arose the desire to solve the puzzle. And from that desire arose will to acquire good qualities which would please and gratify the talisman owner. This is where it comes from. Like Ustad precisely follow these steps. Then he says, he looked at the tree, saw the fruits, and realized this can't be random. And here Ustad says, then he began to entreat that he would be inspired with the key to the talisman. With this development, spiritual development, at the end of this reasoning and contemplation, he was inspired with the key to the puzzle.
And the
and it is when he's switched to state of presence, hazırane, and he starts supplicating. O ruler of this place, I happened upon you, and I take refuge with you, and I am your servant, and I want to please you, I am searching for you. This
In
is
the
the
previous session, Brother Barish mentioned about making tafakkur in the prayer, in the salah. And it says it's not allowed or it's not recommended because it will spoil your prayer. Because the salah is a hazirana supplication, hazirana worship, but the tafakkur, like when, and you cannot do the ghaibana when you're doing the hazirana at that. But as Kunab says, the target is always having the hazirana worship supplication, but it happens true when you make also the tafakkur, which is the ghaibana.
Why is it so? How do you know it's the target? Maybe it's
To feel the hudur ilahi.
maybe both of them have different aspects and both of them required in their own.
The
Yeah.
Ustad talks about it and he says both combined.
yeah. This is the first aspect and second aspect.
First, you make an inquiry and find your answers and convince yourself. And at the level of your connection or the relation, then you hazir on you are with your Lord.
It is like DNS.
No, let's not go.
It's like if you love someone, right? Your spouse or a friend, you're with them, you're hazirana, you're ghaib from them. They may still be hazir in your heart, but sometimes you'll forget, right? Because you'll be distracted by what you're doing during the day. But the goal, I think, as far as the shuyukh tell us, is to be always hazir. That's very, very difficult. Only the prophets can do that.
It's
But
certain
it should
saints
be.
as well.
Sorry?
It's some certain saints as well. They're
Yes,
always
yes.
So I think we grasp the difference of the two aspects. We can start the first aspect. Right? The first aspect, it is to affirm submissively the sovereignty of dominicality apparent in the universe, and to observe its perfections and virtues in wonder. Then it is to proclaim and herald the unique arts which consists of the inscriptions of the sacred divine names, and to display them to others. This is very strange for me. What does it mean to display them to others? Like telling them the people?
No, the Fatiha, Tahiyat,
Yeah.
and the Fatiha, so the Fatiha. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. Or in Tahiyat. We're offering them,
Presenting,
yeah.
representing them and presenting
Like
them by
first we
representing.
see their worships through tafakkur, and then we offer.
Can you go back
Is
a
it?
little bit? Sorry.
Is this
It's to affirm submissively.
film submissively? Somewhat of the
Well,
perfections.
in the 11th word, there's a part about if you want to know about the objectives of life, right? So he gives a bit more explanation. He says, like, for instance, if somebody, a king, right, he gives a soldier medals, and it's for him to wear them, right? So the human being is being given these faculties, right? He is using them, and whilst using them, he is displaying them. Because in I think the 18th word, he explains that, there's minds reading everything all the time. Angels, spirit beings, jinn,
Yeah.
humanity, Allah Ta'ala himself, right? So, like the cheetah is not thinking like, can show everybody I'm the fastest one, but he's just, whilst running, it's on display.
Yes.
Allah, I think that's the way,
It's the same for us. We are already displaying divine names, divine arts without knowing. Like,
because otherwise it would have to be like فَبِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Talk about the mercy and the favors that Allah has had on you. in a way, of course, that is not proud, but you are an obligation. You have to, you know, say, Allah Ta'ala did this for me. How can I expect this?
Allah read a small passage. In the first chapter, the 23rd word, it says, "In the light of belief enters his being, all the meaningful inscriptions on him may be read. As one who believes, he reads them consciously, and through that relation causes others to read them. That is to say, the dominical art in man becomes apparent through meanings like I am the creature and artifact of the all-glorious Maker. I manifest his mercy and magnificence."
So like it matters to be like consciously manifesting, and like it's a special duty for us. Like the other animals, manifesting divine arts without knowing, but we have to be consciously manifesting, becoming a conscious mirror. So
Yeah, it is because we have the ana as a trust, and through that ana, because the first condition is that we submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you don't submit to Him, like if you don't do submission, like if you don't accept that He is the creator, we cannot also read His names, or we cannot see also the other creatures, how they are making supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So through the ana we had that one, and then, so that's why the belief is the first condition that we show our submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then after that we can see the other creatures submissions or their works, what they do. That's why it says the kafir, why the kafir unbelievers, they deserve the Jahannam, because every day they are making khata. I don't want to go there. Yeah.
So they fail on the first step, like on NA. So like
You answered my question, thanks. I was going to say why is submissively in italics.
in italics, like I didn't I never realized that like preciseness of these steps here. Like Ustad mentions like in some order, but what is the reasoning behind it? I didn't understand it, but now we are having a progress. So first you have to acknowledge like divine dominicality, submit, then you see the divine art on yourself, and like consciously manifest.
In
In the Masnavi Nuriya, Ustad says that proofs are like brushes which we use to to clean the dust of unbelief. So the sustainer of the belief, sustainer of belief is submission or acceptance. So it's like we don't believe because there's a proof. The initial point that we submit that we can believe.
Yeah.
So the proofs are just to clear the dust that is landing on the matters of the faith.
Yes.
Well, where does he say that?
In the Mathnavi al-Nuri, this was in Arabic, I don't know if...
Wasn't it in Muhakamat at the beginning of Muhakamat?
No, it's in Mathnavi.
in Ankara, there's one brother, his name is Veda, and when he was teaching about the duty of the man for the students there in the high school, he made a formula like duty of man, like the formula was ATS 1, ATS 2. ATS Allah tanımak ve sevmek, ATS 2 Allah tanıtmak ve sevdirmek. So ATS 1 means to know Allah and to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the ATS 2 to make others to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to make others to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Was he engineer?
From Eskişehir, he was living in Ankara now.
No, was he engineer?
I don't know. Anyway, but the thing is that what I want to say, there's a very there's a very much interconnected between these things. Okay, the first condition is the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, submission to that. But the more you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you have a more stronger belief in Him, and then the more you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the more you believe in Him, the more you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for the other one, the more you make others to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more it makes others to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then the more it makes others to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is, it's this connection between them. So it's not just you believe and that is it. No, the marifa also increasing for belief.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that.
Everything is fine.
Can I say something very quickly?
It first very little something. When you miss the first step, it came to my mind that when you first miss the first step in like worship, you will start to say teşekkür bil vacip.
It's interesting because he says to affirm submissively. He doesn't say first you affirm and then you submit. He says the affirmation has to be submissive because there are lots of people who affirm the sovereignty of God's dominicality. You know, they are deists. So actually he doesn't use things for nothing. And I'm not sure why it was italicized. Who italicized?
So it is because it's comparative
Turkish
Turkish
one.
English one, and it's italicized because the Turkish the same word is also.
To match.
italic.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Can you slide the right?
Yes,
But
it
because
is.
I
It
think
is. Yes.
it's also italicized
And
and in the other.
Yeah.
This is the reason.
It's itaat kara.
Kolinan I think he made a very important point.
No, go back.
In another part of the Risale, Ustad says, those who just, remember, I forget it, like, it was 20 word to him. Like, if someone just says, okay, I believe in Allah, then the other, and without, like the Iman Taqlidi, then what will happen? Someone can claim he can give the godness to other things.
Yeah.
So which is it's also affirmation,
Yeah.
but it is just in the Taqlid level, not the Tahqiq level. It's very important.
Purely on a purely intellectual
Yeah.
level, you can
Yeah.
easily affirm it, but itaat karane means
Yeah.
it's an affirmation that you actually internalize.
Yeah.
So I am trying to apply to the eighth word. Like, what if someone affirms without submissively? Like, he may say, he may realize the truth of the well and says, "Why did you put me here instead of supplication?" This is the reaction of someone in this situation. To do. And once when I was in high school, a friend of mine asked me exactly this: Why did Allah created us and like gives us duties and like puts us to Jahannam? Like, what is the goal? Like, is he playing? This is someone. This is the reaction of someone without submission, without understanding like submission. Like, you were about to say something.
I think Ahmet Abba
Yes,
said
Hocam.
something.
I think fitra, the nature of human being, is to once we discover something, we want to talk about it. We want to present it to others. You can't really do it without it. Because if you found a nice holiday resort and you don't talk about it to your friends, it's almost impossible. Like this, no, if you find truth of Iman, discover it, and we can't really hide it without telling others. Well, this is unbreakable, but it's together.
So I am continuing.
52.
Then it is to weigh on the scales of perception the jewels of the dominical names, which are all like hidden treasures. It is to appreciatively affirm their value with the discerning heart.
No, wait, just a bit.
Yes.
When you read this, and you look at, you feel like this is so much in need of being said. In the Muslim world today, believing people, we just don't do this, And it's so amazing how the Risale teaches you that this is supremely important, that people should do this, And not only that, they're rewarded by it in this world and the next. You're given insight, and you can direct your life in a better way, and you are thankful. And thanks leads to more, right? Because when shakartum lazidanakum, for example, it's just so, otherwise it's just dull. It's dull. It's like obey, that's it. Wait for some recompense in the next one after you die. Just be patient through all, because if you're good, Allah's going to test you even harder, right? He's going to test you more and more and more, the more you try to get close to Him. And then when you die, then, after that, Qiyamah and all of that, inshallah, then reward comes. Whereas in this world, it's like, you have to look and see and think and know and, I find it so, mashallah.
Imams in mosques tells things like, our goal is to win Jannah. Like, it's like a game, like, run and win.
Collect some points, save points.
Yeah. It's like a marathon. Like,
Win some, lose some.
it doesn't make sense. Like when you don't explain the truth.
I mean, you can do it because you believe in Allah, right? Because you think, yes, Allah, whatever, I'll be patient, I'll do it. Because you love Allah, you submit to Allah, because you know the Prophet, you say, of course I'm going to submit that. How am I going to just let this pass, But it is so beautiful and amazing and rewarding that this is emphasized. And not only that, through the Riwayat al-Sunnah, you realize it is true in the Quran. It has been taught in every generation by the awliya, the mujaddidun of every generation. They just make it apparent. And then when you look at the first generation, under this understanding, you start seeing they knew about this. They knew about this. They were practicing it, But people like myself, for example, you fall into this understanding of Islam. You're convinced by this understanding of Islam that it's just there's no thinking, no spirituality, there's no art, there's no nuance, there's no, And then because you believe in Allah, yes, I accept it, But it's like I used to say, when I discovered, more about Islam, I would say to many people, like, it's like taking a banana, throwing the fruit away, and eating the kirsch, and saying, oh, the banana, Allah, mashallah, And it's so beautiful because it is a miracle of Allah Ta'ala. It's like you could be eating nothing. You could be like, and then you have this to eat, and look, it is so beautiful. But you're throwing the fruit away and thinking this is the fruit. When you have this understanding of that is literalistic, and it's like, oh, be careful, this is bid'ah. Oh, be careful, no, manifestation, man. No, be careful. This is shirk, brother. How are you, how do you die,
I think it is more bid'ah.
To say bid'ah to everything.
It is more bid'ah to think that like Islam is the consist of like arbitrary rules, like without any depth. This is the bid'ah.
Yeah, and then we don't realize because it's muntashir. It is it's influenced so much of the Muslim world. Like, look at what Kulman, he comes to Malaysia, he teaches people, and everybody's like, this is how, like, maybe it looks nice, but just so skeptical, when it is the heart of Islam,
People, Kolman Hocam said, people are asking which verse, like,
is there an evidence for it?
all verse, like, but I think the best reference book for this, like, to answer this question is Mujizat Quraniye, because Ustad mentions many examples from the Quran that most mufassirs don't give attention, like names, like in every surah and end of the stories of Prophet, the Quran mentions names, but like these are not arbitrary, and that no one gives attention to it. Allah, Quran talks about Allah, but why these names are mentioned here? This is the actual, like, the most important lesson to be taken from that story. Because you read the Qasr Musa, and at the end it mentions names. This is the moral of the story, the most important part. But no one gives attention to it. And look through the Quran, it is everywhere, but like no one gives attention. Like the whole layer of the Quran, like divine names.
So you're saying like the teaching of Quran is to teach divine names, but since we don't have any reference point, it tells us the stories of the prophets. And then look, this story, this is the name that it relates to.
This is the name, yeah.
So the actual point of whole thing that it tells is to actually direct attention to the divine name, which is the whole purpose of everything.
And you are supposed to apply it to your life. Like, this is the story. Look at the story. You will see the name. Like, and anything you experience in your life, you are supposed to do the same. This is the lesson you are supposed to take. Anyway, I'm continuing. Oh, there are hands.
Just to remind that practice. I mean, let's try to be more. Moderator can have eye contact with everyone, inshallah, because sometimes you miss this part. Just to try to have eye contact with everyone, inshallah.
Do you have hands?
It has to be able to see through flesh and
Like,
bone.
if you are able to connect with the next sentence, maybe you can like
Yes. Now.
today. Sorry.
Not
Yes.
connected, but connected with the present topic discussion. Like I was teaching in Philippines, Islam 1 subject. We had a textbook mainly constructed from the Salim. Not so comprehensive, but just like a beginner level, let's say. So I was discussing the example of apple Ustad used to explain the divine unity and divine oneness, to how to see the difference through apple. Like the apple is produced in the workbench of the universe. So apple itself showing also through its connection there is also the unity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all those things I discussed, and then in the exam I asked like bring one argument, discuss to differentiate Wahidiyya from Ahadiyya. Because I already discussed and I gave them materials for the reading. So some of the students just simply wrote that apple. So it's like the level of the Muslim community's understanding is that level, like just very literalist. You give a lot of truths, but it is just lost in the apple. The truth is so distant away.
Yes. We have 10 minutes. Can go fast. Thank you for the remark. It's lovely. Then it is to study and ponder over, in wonder, the pace of beings and leaves of the earth and sky, which are like missives of the pen of power. Kalem Kudret.
What does Mr. do?
I don't know.
It's a letter. Letter. Did you write? Did you write a letter to someone? It's a very old word. If you ask any English person, they wouldn't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is it put there then?
Because maybe the translator thought if I put letters, then people may think it's huruf. Maybe
We don't know.
the missive is something that you write and you send to someone.
Does missive has the royalty context? Like it is between the leaders, like high people of high stature, they exchange,
I'm not
communicate, missive.
Maybe.
Maybe to add it a royalty, like it's not a simple thing, a letter, but it is a royalty.
Usually he uses decree and edict, missive.
I just realized that he uses leaves in the sentence, so maybe letters could have been misleading, as you said.
Yeah.
So it is your homework research.
But actually, the word exists in Spanish. And in Spanish, it's only used when it is by somebody of high stature to
Alright.
to less stature. So
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ahmed
it's
is
similar.
right.
Yeah, you made it right.
like the Farman. Then through beholding admiringly the adornment and subtle arts in beings, it is to feel love for knowledge of their all-vicious creator. Very parallel to the eightfold figure. And to yearn to ascend to the presence of their all-perfect maker and to receive his favors.
say something very quick, not a question. If you go back, when he says beholding, it's not just beholding the adornment, because everyone beholds it. He says beholding admiringly the adornment of the subtle arts. All the time he's trying to push us away from being passive observers and not engaging. The way with his sentence structure, it's amazing the way
This
the nuance in his
tefekkür
words.
should give you these emotions.
Yes.
Feel you until you reach this state of presence. Like, also in like just like Ustad mentioned all these steps of different emotions in eighth word. Example.
But this is not a normal writer, you know.
Yeah, it's
It's qarib, this book. You know, as a reflection of Quran. It's as though he sat and planned every single word, but we know that he didn't, because of the way that he wrote it, sometimes in a hurry, sometimes on horseback, you know, sometimes under terrible, terrible situations. An author to sit down and plan like that needs time, needs huzur. It's not normal.
It's totally opposite, yeah. He wrote all this under the pressure of torment, prison,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
entanglement.
So I think this is really a very, very important thing to know, understand, and mention. There's a brother who's a waqf in Colombia, my country, and this brother is the most simple person you can ever imagine.
Haka?
No, I didn't mean purposely to you know. I'm saying
I
this.
just met him.
He's a very simple person, but because he's such a, I think, such a disciplined student of Risale, he has become this teacher. Even though he speaks the language, or a language in sometimes a broken fashion, somewhat, yes. He teaches so well, I think, yeah. And so, this is a very, very subtle point that only advanced students of knowledge would understand. There's the awliya of Allah Ta'ala. First of all, you have to affirm the reality of the awliya. Many Muslims today, they say, everybody's a wali. And yeah, some measure is true because of the ayah, but you can also, you have to understand that, as the Ustad, he says in the 23rd word, the second part, he says, every century has people in charge of guiding others through the light of the last prophet in our community. So if you recognize who they are, this is important for you, or Allah shows you. And then when you read people who are steeped in this knowledge, especially in the tradition, they will tell you about this. Like there's a mufassir of Quran who lived in Morocco 200 years ago. He'll tell you in every ayah, because he was lost. He says he was lost, and then he found this wali who guided him. The Imam Shadili, etc. For example. So coming back to Hakan Abu, he said. So when you sort of understand this, learn about this, and then you start reading, pay attention to Risale Nur, you're saying, there's another level, when you read scholarly books, and then when you read people who have been inspired, is different, right? So the Risale Nur takes care of explaining this to you, and Hakanawi, he pointed this out to me. He said, look, there's degrees. I mean, the heart, right? I think it's the 21st word. The heart receives from Allah Ta'ala, right? And so the wahi, the Quran, is the highest degree. And the lowest degree of sort of receiving a message from Allah is, what animals perceive themselves, just instinct, or, this is a command that you receive, but it's the lowest level, right? So, there's another term for it, and I've heard students of Noor saying it as well. Like this is called ilmun laduni. It's a different type of ilm that Al-Khidr has, because it's taken from the ayah in Al-Kaf, right? Because وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. We taught him from ourselves knowledge. We had rahmah, and we taught him from ourselves knowledge, right? I heard this from Hisham Qasimabi actually, this Laduni term. And then I discovered that in the tradition, ulama, they speak about this. People who know about the awliya, they know that the awliya, they have speech that is luminous, that you can take meanings and again, like for example, there's the Hikam al-Ata'iyya, for example, right? Of Ibn Ata'illah Secondary, who's an important wali of, he's in the Tariqa Shadri, he's extremely important in the north of Africa, right? He wrote this book that in English is called the Aphorisms of Ibn Ata'illah, right? And you read them and it's so, it's the summary of so much of Quran and Hadith, right? You can read them thousands of times and each time because they're haqai, right? So this is not, it's not new. You should also know that, it's not new, but this is the beautiful thing about the Risale analysis. I believe, and I think most of you agree with me, it's for our time.
Yeah.
And not only for this part of the world, right? Inshallah, it's going to spread. Right?
It's also maybe one aspect. One other aspect is the usually like the level of the people, like their education level, their background, their understanding capability also differs. Risale Nur has this amazing virtue as well to be read and understood very easily even by simple people. Like there was one example, one story of Fırıncabi, his baker, right? There was an alim came from Al-Azhar, like a professor from Al-Azhar came and he welcomed him, and then they were just walking towards like a 14 or something, and then they were discussing about qadar.
Yes.
Okay, so they discussed and they had like some discussion, and then finally they had an agreement.
Yes.
But like of course Fırıncabi was talking about like how we start explaining it, etc. But the professor said, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but professor said like, but yeah, this is known. Okay, we had an agreement, but this is known. I mean, we already have this in our studies.
Yes.
We are teaching that. Why do we need Risale Nur? And Fırıncabi said that you are a professor in Al-Azhar and I'm a baker,
Yeah.
and I'm here discussing with you like it's a very complicated topic. So that's what actually makes Risale Nur very special. Is that like, as for example, brother, I can tell you the same thing. Like you are a ilmi kalam, you are studying ilmi kalam, and Hojam here is like theology, but many of us here, like some of us are engineers, doctors, developers, like many different professions, and we come here. Now we have a common language to discuss about very complicated, universal and Islamic topics.
Our time is over. I will read.
It's okay.
Say-
We can take another 15 minutes. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Really? I like.
Okay, wait, one second.
Take control.
Yeah, I am taking the control. I am taking the wheel. So, we run out of time. I will read straight. Like I'm preparing to, like I am lowering your expectation. Okay, I am reading straight. The rest of the yes, the second aspect, and I will finish. And I will refer to you ninth word for explanation of the second aspect. So it is very related.
Before you start, may I add something? Short, like 30 seconds. The first aspect was Gaibana, all about Gaibana, right? All those levels of
Yes.
reflection. So we progress to the Hazrana now, right?
Yeah.
It is more about dhikr or
Visual.
supplication.
In the first aspect, we filled with emotions through this tefekkur, this contemplation, like in like admiring, like submissively affirming, then like weighing on scales of the perception, like analyzing, ponder over, and like we filled and I reached on a state that like you start in initial stages. I think like it is like what was it? Iltifat, but it is used as a belagat term.
Compliment.
Look, reaching to hazirane state, but you start uses iltifat, but it is a belagat term there. This is an iltifat. a specific meaning. So like in literature, like you talk about something, Ustad explains it inshallah. In literature, Ustad says you describe someone so much that like a desire appears in your heart to start speaking directly to him, and you start to like address him. Like this is an art form that is used in literature, like, and like the truth behind it is like your heart feels sweet emotions. You start to like feel this state of presence. Anyway, I am finishing. Second aspect. This is the station of presence and address wherein man passes from the work to the producer of the work. Passes from the work to the producer of the work. Like you are visiting a gallery, art gallery, you see all the pictures, and suddenly you are encountered with the producer of the work, and he sees that an all-beauteous maker wants to make himself known and acquainted through the miracles of his heart, and he responds with knowledge and belief. Responds with knowledge and belief. Then he sees that an all-compassionate sustainer wants to make himself loved through the fine fruits of his mercy. So confining his love and worship to him, he makes himself love him. He makes himself love him. Then he sees that an all-generous bestower is nurturing him with the delights of bounties, material and immaterial, and in turn he offers him thanks and praise with his actions, conduct, words, and as far as he can, with all his senses and faculties. Then he sees that an all-beauteous and glorious one is announcing his tremendousness and perfections and glory and beauty in the mirror of these beings, and is drawing attentive gazes to them. So in response, he declares, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah. Allah is most great, and glory to Allah. And in humility, prostrates in love and wonder. This is the meaning of prayer. Then he sees that a possessor of absolute riches is displaying his boundless wealth and treasuries amid an absolute munificence. So in response, exalting and praising him, he entreats and asks for them, expressing his utter needs.
May I add short clarification to you? Now, based on this second part, I realize that Gaibana is human thing and Hazara is divine presence. Because if we saw in the first one, we are seeing, we are weighing up, we are pondering, we are showing and making it seen. So in the second one, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making you see.
Yeah.
He is making you
He just
observe.
responds.
So it's like we are infinitely distant from him. In that regard, we are Ghaib, but he is infinitely close to us. That is, he is present. He is present everywhere.
Yeah.
So in here, he is showing us. That's why it is more presence oriented, and then the first one.
Yeah, I just realized Ustad always uses the word response. You respond. Allah calls you, you just respond. Like in the well, the key to the talisman is inspired into his heart, and he starts to supplicate. But it is the response. Like the call is made to his heart. Are you gonna?
Can I just say one word? It is like preparing for Hajj. And reading all these books and how to do it, and trying to guess what sort of environment is going to be your first Hajj. And then you go there and you feel it fully. You pray in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He accepted you there. Otherwise you couldn't be there. So it is submitting yourself as if he's there and in front of him, you are there. No, something like that.
People always say you have to be cold
Yes.
from us.
They say that.
Can I add something? Yes. So, in many places, that says that how magnificent and miraculous is it to for the milk to come from between the milk and flesh of the cows. So, there Allah gives us message that this is my miracle, and we have to see that miracle, and then we have to pass to the presenter, the giver of that miracle. And there are many communities. We were talking with an Abid that they see the cow as a holy thing and start praying that.
Yeah.
So they are at the first step and they can't pass to the second step.
Even actually, good that you brought it. I was thinking about when we were talking about like Geyve, even like today's science and technology. Also, they focus on the universe, nature a lot, so they are drawn into it. Right? They see the perfections, they see the divine names, but they are lost within it because they went too deep into that. That's why Ustad says like when you do tefekkür externally, do it like on the surface. When you do it internally, go deep. That's why sometimes we can easily get confused. Like the co-example you give. Like when sometimes we see the beauty and perfection, but we just think that it is from that, or we just get lost in the process. We can't pass to Hazran.
Yeah. Let me insert a question here.
What?
In the second sentence, Ustad says, he makes himself love him.
Where is it? Sorry.
In the second sentence of the second passage, he makes himself love him. Like,
The
not
person
say-
himself.
he makes himself love him.
Allah makes himself.
No, he, the human, makes
By himself.
Allah love him.
It's the next
Like-
line.
Confining his love, like Allah wants to make himself loved. Allah wants to make himself loved. So confining his love and worship to him, like accepting the love, like no, showing his love. What's confining?
Restrict.
Yeah, restricting his love in him. Then he makes himself love him. Like if you love someone, you want to make them love you.
I think this man loves Allah. Here.
The he is
No,
for
there,
man.
there are two steps. First, Allah wants to make himself love, so you restrict your love in Allah.
Here, confining
First
his
you
love.
Huh?
Confining his love and worship to him. Who is confining? Man
Yeah.
is confining himself. His love and worship
Yes,
to
this is
him.
the first
And he
step.
prepares himself for love of Allah, and he manages that. Actually,
No, I
he
don't.
makes himself love him. That's
I
what
don't like. This is what I understand. I am confining my love and worship to Allah. Then I am making Allah love me
I think that's
through my actions. Like I want to take
First step.
take a state that Allah loves, like because I am claiming this. This is how I understand, because Ustad tells this exactly in 8th word.
Yeah, what you're saying is right, but in
That's
here,
not what
as
he's
far as I
saying.
know, he says the opposite. Man makes himself loved by Allah.
No, like, yeah.
exactly that.
He makes. I am telling. I am
The
telling.
original text says it confirms what you say actually.
Isn't it the case?
Kendini ona sevdirir.
Yes, yes.
But translation is wrong.
No, it is not wrong. Kendini.
Difference in H is.
But there are two he, like he, the man also he.
Right. So if she
also.
Kendini oradan sevdirir is a passive word, a passive sentence.
No, it
So
is not.
Allah loves him through man confining his love and worship to him.
It is
Allah
not
loves
possible.
him as a result.
It is not possible. It is effective, I think. Makes himself.
Sonra görür ki bir Rabbi Rahim rahmetinin güzel meyveleriyle kendini sevdirmek ister. O da ona has muhabbetle tahsisi taabbütle kendini ona sevdirir.
Yeah, it's the human being.
Yeah.
That makes up,
He
he
makes
treats
himself
Allah Ta'ala to
loved.
love him, right?
But the English is not very good. The syntax is not great. In confining his
Wants
love
to
and
make
worship
himself
to him,
loved. Doesn't sound right. No.
in confining his love and worship to him, he's making himself love Allah.
Okay.
Because he's confining his love from everything else that he loves, he's confining it only to Allah, so he's actually doing that, making himself love
Can
Allah.
someone rephrase that sentence
And
by removing all the...
I think the only thing you need to do is change the capital H to himself.
Yeah.
If you do that,
Maybe
then
it
that's okay. Then
Maybe that
you
version. Let me see.
Can you rephrase it by removing all the he and him and putting woman and God?
The meaning is lost.
Capital H is wrong. Yeah, I just realized.
Himself.
Himself, he should be capital.
Yes, I think this one, brothers.
I didn't give attention to capital.
Then it wouldn't be himself. He said he
This is what I was trying to say.
it wouldn't be himself, it would be him. He
Yes.
makes himself love him, it wouldn't make sense. He makes him love him.
Can I rephrase it? So, man makes himself love Allah.
Don't use himself. Man,
But man makes, how can I say?
Okay.
Man makes man.
man makes manself love Allah.
Man, like if
One you can say
you
oneself.
remove prepositions,
Yeah.
the man makes Allah love him.
No, you can't
No,
make
no,
Allah love you.
How
Like he wants Allah to want you, and you, I will read the sentence from the 8th word. And from that desire arose the will to acquire good qualities which would please and gratify the talisman's owner. You acquire the qualities so that Allah loves you. This is how you make Allah love you. To acquire these qualities.
Can we reword this like this, for example? By the person says, there is no other being lovable other than you, O Allah. Yeah. Therefore, he makes himself, by this action, he makes himself be loved by Allah.
Lovable. You
Or-
make yourself
No, he makes
lovable.
himself love
No,
Allah.
okay.
Yeah,
Can I?
yeah.
That's it.
Serdirir means...
No, see.
Yes,
If we
to
pay
make,
attention,
to make someone love you, right?
Yeah.
if we
I
pay,
make myself lovable by Allah.
But it says like tahsisim taabbütle kendini ona sevdirir.
Serdirir means...
Yeah.
Yani ben sana ibadet ederek sen beni seviyorsun.
no,
Öyle
okay.
olur yani.
Can I interrupt?
Like it is actually implies like in
You
order
guys all
to
talking
make
about same
someone
thing.
love you, you make yourself lovable. Like
Hello?
in this sentence, Ustad implies that you make yourself lovable, like you acquire good qualities so that Allah loves you.
I think it's in translation is better.
Think of
Doğru
the
yerdesiniz
baby,
acaba?
for example. The baby
Answer it.
makes mischief and the baby is playful.
Acting playfully and sweet.
So when I think about it, somehow Hazreti Musa comes to my mind, and I think of Ismail Wadud here, and the man himself love Allah. I mean,
Why Hazreti Musa comes to your mind?
because he's at the maqam of Naz.
Naz makam, yeah. Like, great example. A baby makes you love him.
But we can't make Allah love us, it doesn't make sense.
Like, no, baby doesn't have any.
You can't make him love us.
No, you can't make it.
Right.
Sorry.
Like, no, baby doesn't have a force on you. Baby doesn't have any power to change your behavior. He just makes himself lovable, like behaves lovable. This is what we mean by saying makes himself lovable.
It wouldn't be himself, it would be he.
He makes you love
He
him.
makes him love him, and then
Yeah.
the second him would be a small.
Yes. It is
But-
wrong.
Sorry.
So it's you
So, the first he is the human being, okay, we. Siz, if you pay attention to the name, so the all compassionate sustainer,
Yeah.
the one who provides us the the fruits of His mercy, like through His compassion, and He provides the rizq in a way, in a compassionate way. So through those things, such a compassionate sustainer who provides the foods, everything. So with all these things, which is coming from, it's coupled, So through these things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes Himself us to know Him.
Right.
Sorry, but that doesn't make sense in English.
No.
I think you guys are all talking about the same thing, just different perspective. It's all saying things similar.
I think Allah has prescribed what we need to do for Him to love us. And we
Also, our 15 minutes
just-
also.
we just follow his instructions. We just follow His instructions and become lovable. Then He loves us. That's what I understand from this.
Our extra 15 minutes over. Also, we are 5 minutes past it.
Ask for the
I
full
am
time.
finishing by reading straight.
Straight. It takes 15 minutes.
Yeah. Then he sees
Do I
that.
have to finish it?
Brothers, please tell
Yes.
if we are bringing something, just maybe you continue until we bring it. Okay? While we are all here, we can.
Brother Hassan,
I am.
need help?
I am finishing. All right.
Okay.
Give attention, please. Where was we at? Then he sees that all the glorious Creator has made the face of the earth like an exhibition and displayed on it all His antique works of art. So, in response, he exclaims in appreciation what wonders Allah has willed, and in admiration what blessings Allah has bestowed, and in wonder, glory be to Allah, subhanallah, and in astonishment, Allah is most great, Allahu Akbar. Then he sees that in His palace of the universe, a single one of unity has struck seals of unity on all beings with His inimitable signature and with His stamps, signets, and ciphers particular to Him, that He inscribes the signs of His unity, and planting the banner of unity in every region of the world, He proclaims His dominicanity, and He responds with assent, belief, submission, worship, and affirmation of His unity. Thus, through worship and contemplation of this kind, he becomes a true man. He shows that he is on the most excellent of the patterns. This is the answer to the question on the beginning. What makes us most excellent of patterns? Through the auspiciousness of belief, he becomes a reliable, vicegerent Khalifa of the earth, worthy of bearing the trust. Emanet. Efendim.